Hey guys, welcome to the channel, and this is your friend iOS Mayank. And if you're someone who is looking for the iOS app development roadmap, then this video is for you. We're going to talk about what you need to learn, how you need to learn, from where you can learn, and how you can implement it in real life. So without any further ado, let's get started. So guys, let's talk about the requirements that you need to have before starting off with your iOS journey. So you need to have two types of requirements. First one is the hardware requirement, and the second one is going to be the software requirement. So let's talk about the hardware requirement, which is the only requirement that you need to have. That is having a Mac machine. It could be your MacBook, it could be your Mac Mini, it could be anything which gives you the Mac OS environment. You need to have the Mac OS environment to be able to develop things in iOS, for tvOS, for watchOS, all those things, right? So you need to have that thing. But as you know that Apple machines are not that affordable. So what you can do is you can buy second-hand Apple machines which are quite affordable. So that is one thing that you can do to get the macOS environment for much affordable price. Because if you are someone who is dependent on somebody else's money, like if you are dependent on your parents' money, then I would not recommend you to buy a new Mac if your parents' pocket doesn't allow that. Please don't force them to buy you a new MacBook. You can manage to get a second-hand MacBook from your local shops. You need to do some extra efforts to get to know that, right? Now let's talk about the second thing, which is the software. Now the software that you need to have in your Mac machine is the Xcode, which is the official IDE to develop iOS, macOS, tvOS, watchOS apps. So you need to have Xcode installed on your Mac machine. Now you have both these things. Now let's talk about the steps to learn things in iOS. Okay, so there are 5 simple steps. The very first step is to learn Swift language. If you're someone who is new to the programming, Swift language is going to be very easy for you, because Swift language is very, I would say, user friendly. You would be able to learn about data types. You would be able to learn about optionals, how to handle optionals, all those things. You might be thinking that what kind of term I am using here, but yeah, these terms are going to be familiar with you, or you are going to be familiar with these terms in next few days if you are going to start your iOS journey just right after watching this video. And I would highly recommend you to start it, because if you're watching this video and not taking an action, then you're wasting your time. Okay, let's come back to the point. From where you can learn the Swift language? You can learn it from the Apple's official documentation, which is, I believe, the best resource, or you can say the best resource from where you can learn Swift language. But some people find that it is quite complex to learn from there. If you are in the very beginning of your career, it might get a little complex for you to understand from the Apple documentation. So what you can do is you can follow some other blog posts like Hacking with Swift by Paul Hudson, which is a great website to learn Swift language. You can use video tutorials by Code with Chris. His channel's name is Code with Chris on YouTube. You can find him and you can watch his videos. He has made complete playlist on Swift for beginners. So you can just give it a watch and you would be able to understand Swift much better. And after watching those tutorials, you can give it a read to the official Apple documentation. It would be like the best thing possible. If you are someone who doesn't like to read from the documentation first, this is going to be a perfect recipe for you to learn Swift language. Now let's talk about the second requirement, or you can say the second step, which is learning the app development cycle, or which you can also say learning the app development process. Now, what do I mean when I say app development process? See, so far you must be using any of these apps like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, it can say TikTok, Snapchat, and whatnot. So you must be using any of these apps on the daily basis, right? Yeah, you are laughing, right? You are, smiling right now, and I just know that you must be using one of these apps daily, right? I believe it's Instagram. Okay, so far you must be looking at those apps like any other social media app. You are using it, you are just using that for fun, right? you are sharing your experiences, you are sharing your whatever, you are sharing whatever you want to, and you are just using it like any other app. But now you need to change your perspective towards those apps. Why? Because now you're going to be an app developer and you need to think like an app developer. When you look at the interface of your application, then you need to think in a way like, see, if I hit like here, what must be going behind the scenes? And looking at it in a way that, see, I have this screen which is scrollable, which has these images, which has these videos. What kind of components have been used here through which this screen has been made, through which this view has been made, right? So you need to think in this way. This will help you to become a more good developer, I would say. Just don't quote me on this. I'm saying this because it would be more relatable for you to understand things in the real sense, because when you would be implementing things for real in your Xcode, you would be able to relate it with the real examples that you have already in the market, because those apps are already using those things which you are learning now. Okay, so that's why I'm just saying this. The other important thing that we have in the iOS development process is the communication patterns. You need to know how two views are going to communicate with each other. For that, I have already made 3-4 videos. You can find videos on delegate protocol communication pattern. You can find video on closure callback. You can find video on notification observer, because these are going to be some main communication patterns that you need to know before getting that first opportunity. So you need to make sure that you know about the communication patterns along with all those things that I had just talked about. So yes, along with that, you also need to know the third-party integration, which is quite simple to do. You can find any video on YouTube which will explain you how to do it. You need to have a better understanding about how to integrate third-party functionalities with your project, or you can say for third-party libraries with your project, which is quite simple. Don't worry about that. You just need to just search what is Cocoa Pods, how to integrate Cocoa Pods in Swift project, and you would get enough videos to learn from it. Now the best resource for this could be my videos. I have already made some basic videos on iOS development process. You can also watch videos from Davidson. He has an amazing channel. You can also watch videos from Loco. He has also made some awesome videos about the iOS development things that you need to learn. So I'll link all these things in the description box down below. Okay, don't worry about that, but just start learning. That is my main intention. Okay, now let's talk about the third step. The third step is to know that what goes behind the scene. Like so far we have been talking about Swift, we have been talking about the iOS app development process. These all things deals with the front end part of the application. So now you must be thinking, what is front end? Because I'm gonna say one more term, which is the backend. So the thing which you see right on your screen, with which you interact, is your front end. Like you have a WhatsApp app, right? You have a list of contacts to which you can send a message to any one of them, right? And you can see it right through, right? So when you see those messages and when you scroll that screen, all those things relates to the front end part. But what goes behind the scenes when you send a message, it gets delivered to the end user. The end user, when sees that message, you get the double tick with that bluish color. Okay, all those things have been handled on the backend. All those actions have been saved somewhere in the storage. So so the storage part and the backend part, you can take storage inside the backend part, because the front end part is only the thing that is called the user interface. The user interacts with anything on the mobile screen is considered as front end, right? And whatever goes behind the scenes, when you hit a like on a post, whenever you write a comment on a post, all those things are saved using backend APIs and using the storage. So for that, I would simplify things for you. You don't need to learn the API and URL session, all those things from the very beginning. All you need to do is to understand what is Firebase storage. You can go to Firebase website and get to learn all the things, because they have this beautiful documentation from where you can learn. But still you have videos on YouTube from where you can learn Firebase again. The alternate to Firebase is now we have AWS Amplify, and for that there's no one else but Loco's video, which you can definitely follow, to how to learn AWS Amplify and how to integrate it with your iOS applications. So he has made some beautiful content. He has made some awesome content out there on YouTube. You can watch his videos about AWS Amplify, because AWS Amplify also allows you to store data. You can use its API to, make all these things done in your application. So I would recommend to use Firebase or AWS Amplify, whichever you prefer to use. Again, I would say both of them have their proper documentation, but if you still want to have video tutorials, if you are someone who doesn't like to go for documentation for the very first, then you can consider watching Loco's video for the AWS Amplify. And about Firebase, I would say you can watch Code with Chris video. He has made awesome videos regarding how to implement Firebase with your iOS application, right? So another thing that you need to know inside the backend part, the third step, the backend part we are talking about currently. So you need to know what is JSON, which is JavaScript object notation. You need to know how to handle the JSON, because whenever you, should I say this or not? Let's say this. Whenever you ask your backend to fetch some data, suppose there is my profile on Facebook, right? Whenever I log in, I write my username, I write my password, right? I hit on the sign in button. So when I try to do this, I am asking my backend to check in the storage if these credentials exist. And yes, if these credentials exist, then check if my password is correct or not. If the password is also correct, then please log me in. So I will ask the backend part to do all this stuff and give something back to me in response. So the response you will get from the backend would be in the JSON format. Most probably would be in the JSON format. So you do need to understand what is JSON. So make sure that you understand what is JSON. You can simply type what is JSON on YouTube. You would get enough videos to understand what is JSON, and you would be able to understand how to handle it by watching some of these videos by, again, Code with Chris, Loco, Davidson. I would also make that video very soon, but yeah, currently these videos are already available on YouTube, so you can find them easily. Now let's talk about the fourth part, which is, now you have learned Swift, you have learned the iOS app development process, now you have learned the backend part as well. Now you are good enough to make an application, right? So while you are in the journey of learning all those things, you need to make sure that you are implementing them as well. Otherwise you would feel, yeah, this is boring, I'm not getting it. Because when I was learning myself, I was not implementing things. So in the very beginning, I was thinking that this thing is quite boring, I'm not enjoying it, and I don't like iOS app development. I had these kind of thoughts in my mind. But when I started implementing those things for real, I started making some stupid projects. I would call them stupid because they were. So I started enjoying the process. I started enjoying iOS app development. So you need to make sure that you are implementing things along the way. You are not just mugging up the blog post, or you are not just watching those tutorials and just sleeping after that and not doing anything the other day as well. You don't need to make that mistake, because many people have done these kind of mistakes enough time. So you don't need to make those mistakes. I am again stressing on this part, and I could not stress enough. I just hope that you got the point, right? You need to implement along with the learning, because most of the people fall for the tutorial hell, or you can say the tutorial loop. They are always in that learning zone and end up making nothing. If someone asks them something theoretically, they would definitely answer it, but if someone asks them to implement it as a task, they would fail to do it. Why? Because they never tried to implement it and just trying to read it from somewhere, watching videos and not writing a single line of code. So don't make that mistake. Okay guys, so we were talking about the implementation. Now let's talk about the fifth part, how to implement and what to implement, how to implement, and how would it benefit us. So when I say implementation, you need to make an application by yourself. It could be any application, any idea that you have, that you think that this idea is going to just crush the market and the people are going to like this idea. You can definitely consider working on that idea, but you need to make sure that you have figured out all the features of that particular idea and you have jotted down on the paper that yes, in the very first version of my application I'm going to implement all these functionalities. In the second version I will consider doing these more functionalities as well. So please make sure that you figure it out completely before implementing. Otherwise you would be in a situation like you would stuck in between and think that I have made nothing and this iOS thing is crappy. So don't make that mistake. Please plan well before implementation. For those who don't have any idea in mind, for now, what they can do is they can make basic applications like calculator, they can make habit tracker, they can make weather application, they can make applications like Splitwise, which you can use for the trips with your friends. You can split your budget, you can split your expenses out there. You can make such kind of applications which sounds like basic application, and yes, it is something which is very basic, but it is definitely going to give you a strong foundation for future, because the very first application is mostly crappy application. If I talk about myself, when I made my very first application, it was completely crap. I can say that. And if you ask somebody else also, most of the people would definitely laugh and tell you that yes, the first application that they made in their career was a stupid application. So please make that mistake. Please make any of the application that you want to. Please make any basic application, because it is going to give you some experience and you would feel proud of yourself when you would make that application. And the next time when you would make a new application, you would improve and you would see that I am gradually improving in my skill. So that's my main point. Okay. See, these 5 steps we have covered. Now let's talk about the final thing, which is you can also deploy that. And after deploying, how to deploy, first let's tackle that first. You can deploy your application on App Store and you would find enough tutorials on YouTube how to deploy it. You have Jerry Davidson's 2 or 3 years old video which you can find. You have Sean Allen's video in which he has shown how to deploy your applications on App Store, which is a quite simple thing to do, but it has some cost involved because you need to have a paid Apple developer account to deploy your application on the App Store, which costs you around 99 USD per year, the membership. So I would not highly recommend you to make your application live if you are dependent on somebody else's money. Like if you are dependent on your parents' money, you really don't need to buy a paid developer account if your pocket doesn't allow. But sometimes it creates an impression on the interviewer that you have some applications deployed on the App Store and these applications are live. So they just think that yes, this guy has done something or this girl has done something for real, right? So for that sense, you can definitely do that. But if you have the Mac machine, if you have your project in your Mac machine, you can definitely show it in the interview as well. You can take your MacBook if they allow. And if he asks you that if you have made something or not, you can simply ask him or her that can I show you through my MacBook? And definitely you would be able to do it through your MacBook. So you don't need to make your application live just for the sake of, impressing the interviewer. Yeah, that's the thing. So guys, let's talk about how would you reach that interviewing part, because I just told you the example of how the interviewer will ask you and how you would show him the application. So to understand how to get the first opportunity or how to get your first break, you need to understand the importance of networking. These kind of things would definitely help you, and for that I have this thing called the Mayank Show, which is a podcast on which I talk to guests who are best, or you can say who have done something great in their respective fields. For example, I had Evers Mears as a guest on my podcast, and he talked about the freelancing world. He talked about how you can grab your first opportunity as a freelancer and all those good things, right? So you can definitely give it a watch and you would get to know a lot about it. You can watch Jerry Davidson's podcast with me, in which he talked about how to be a part of a community and how to get the opportunities and make the best out of it. So you can watch that video as well. So these kind of things are gonna definitely help you. So please check out these videos. And yes, if you have watched this video till this point, then I would highly recommend you to start making change and start learning the iOS app development, because it will definitely change your future. It is a big thing, it's still a big thing in India, if you say, because native app development is not going anywhere in next 5 years down the line. I can completely say that it is not going anywhere. If you talk about the next 5 years, yes, it is there, and you have good salaries for it. You have a lot of opportunities in these careers, be it in freelancing, be it a part-time job, be it anything contract type of job, anything like that. This career is going to flourish more in coming future. So you need to definitely consider it, and you need to start learning it from the very first day, and the first day is today. So don't make that mistake of procrastinating and never starting thing. If you are watching this video, you need to start it. Make a promise to yourself, right? So guys, if you like this video and if you found this video helpful, then please give it a big thumbs up, and thank to Yuvraj, the person who tweeted this topic, and after which I made this video. So you need to thank Yuvraj if you like this video. And if you didn't like this video, you don't need to tell Yuvraj about it. You can simply comment down below. I would definitely consider that comment as a positive feedback, and I would try to make changes accordingly. So guys, that's all for now. See you in the next one. Bye bye. Jai Hind.